Dr. V is all I have ever known you by. I love that that's kind of all you've introduced yourself as to me, and you've stuck with it. So what do you prefer to be called?
Doctor.
Yes. First name Doctor, last name V, isn't getting any arguments from me about what she wants to be called. I mean, shit, she's more than earned the title.
I mean, there's not that many of us. There's not many women of color who are non-medical doctors. There's not many women of color who are medical doctors. And I always say, if you know that there's only 4.4% of us, if you know other Black doctors, if you know how hard it is to get to the level that I've gotten, if you know it, it's V. If you don't, it's Dr. V.
Dr. V holds 4 degrees and a PhD, and these days she spends her time in the corporate tech world, working to support people from marginalized communities and help them obtain leadership roles in the world of tech. She's also an author, a public speaker, and a mother. So, if you think this is a story about a boss Black woman who is changing the tech world for Black women one book, one public speaking event, one podcast at a time, you'd be right. But what you might not know is that beyond these credentials, Dr. V is a felon and a former stripper. In April of 2002, she was charged with theft and eventually went to prison for 8 months. And that journey led her to a life of hardship and consequences that still follow her today. But she owns her past. She embraces it. And she's even figured out how to use it as not only a springboard toward a better life, but a business model to land her where she is now, helping other people do the same.
If you want someone that is an incredible salesperson, hire a former stripper. She knows how to negotiate. She knows how to sell into her total addressable market. She knows how to prospect. She knows how to do discovery. She knows how to close the sale.
You heard. From Vermont Public, this is Homegoings. I'm Myra Flynn. Today on the show, a conversation with Dr. V, former stripper, convicted felon, doctor, who doesn't hide where she's come from. In fact, she looks at some of the mistakes she's made in her past as opportunities. Together, we sit down and unpack the joys and challenges she's faced over the years, venturing from a dancer to detainee to doctor in a 7-year span. And how for her, transparency about all of it is a non-negotiable. We're a proud member of the NPR network. Welcome home. What's the V stand for?
My name is Vrenda.
Vrenda.
Yes, it's a Hindu name.
Oh, wow. Dr. V, what makes you a doctor?
All the education I have. My specialty area is organizational leadership. My dissertation was on the social support systems that allow women in tech to obtain and retain senior leadership positions. And it was intentionally women and not women of color or specifically Black women because it is a joint challenge and the tech space is extremely white male dominated.
Yeah. That is like Greek to me so much what you do.
The Greeks had fun.
The Greeks had fun. And also part of what makes you so incredibly interesting to me. I mean, you're an interesting person.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, okay, let's start from what I perceive as the beginning of kind of the change moment to moment that your life would become, you know, the rapid change that it would become and catapult you to where you are now. You were 28 years old.
Yeah.
And I think a mom at this age?
Mom of 2.
A mom of 2. So let's start there. Were you alone? Were you partnered? What was going on?
Gosh, I mean, I like how Miley Cyrus says it. I was young, not wild. But I think in the way a lot of younger women can be. I had my children. I was lonely. I was wanting love. I was wanting perfection. I was wanting success. And I wanted to give my children what I didn't have. And I say this carefully because the choices that I made were choices I made, right? And it's not because of them that I made these choices. I made a lot of selfish choices, but I was working at a large company, and I was an executive assistant.
Okay.
And, at that age, I was wearing the suits from Express, which cost probably $50. And I was like, this is a whole paycheck.
Yeah, that was expensive back then. Yes. Express was a certain level of income for young folks.
That's right.
I remember that store.
That's right. And I can still remember it was this really light blue suit. Rayon should not have worn it. No one should have worn it.
I know this suit.
Yeah,
in my soul.
But I loved it. It was my favorite. And I would go to work every single day. And I worked in procurement. And there came a time when, I actually got a rubber stamp for expense report processing.
Oh, gosh. Like physically?
Like a signature rubber stamp.
Okay.
So what do you do when you get a rubber stamp? You stamp things.
So for expense report processing.
Yeah.
In lay terms, you were the person who approved when people were spending money.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Or when people were saying they were spending money and not.
Got it. Okay.
And so as I went about my job, because I was the executive assistant to the vice president of procurement, I started really using that rubber stamp. And as I found out that some people were using, or potentially, allegedly, it has not been proven, but submitting expense reports that maybe weren't true. Instead of being a whistleblower, I became complicit.
Whoa.
Let's back up.
I think maybe we call this show, What Happened Next? Okay. So people were saying that they were spending money when they weren't, things like that. So for instance, I'm like, I bought a car, but I didn't really, I just pocketed the money kind of thing.
I will say that's what I did.
Okay.
I will say that's what I did. And I will say that if I noticed that anyone else was doing that, I certainly didn't say anything about it.
Did you all have an understanding between one another at work that this was something you were complicit in? Or did you just stamp and move on?
I stamped and moved on. I don't think in that power dynamic, I would describe anything as an understanding. Yeah. I was an executive assistant. I had 2 children, and it was my first corporate job.
Yeah. So, I think the question a lot of people might be thinking right now is morally, what made you override your good sense here, right? In this situation, why'd you do it?
I think morally, for me, my morals revolved around what would allow me to make the best life for my children in this moment. Not consequences, I was on food stamps when I had my son. I had been, at that point, divorced from my daughter's father. He was my husband. I looked at my morality and my decisions for what would serve me best in this moment. Probably with a strong dose of ego that made it think that nothing could touch me. And that I had to fight and claw for whatever I had. Looking back, wow, I could have been really set up to do great things. I could have moved from, the administrative assistant pool into the ops pool. I could have done a lot of things, but I didn't. And even at that time, I remember thinking, why is there only one other Black person in this whole department? Why aren't there more people? It was like Houston, Texas. Come on, there's plenty.
So you were already distrustful of the environment you were in. So there was kind of a sense of well, y'all deserve what you get.
There was.
A little bit. Yeah, I'm hearing that.
Doesn't make it right, but it also makes it true for me.
Yeah, and, a lot of people. Right. So how'd you get caught?
So my boss went out of town for some reason. And when he came back, I said to him, while you were gone, things got really rough. I even looked at other jobs. And I guess
them's fighting words
apparently,
for your boss. Yeah, no,
I didn't know.
You were valued, probably. Yeah.
I didn't know that was not something you said to your boss. It was true. So I thought you said it.
I love that, like, you uphold truth to such a high standard that, like, you just are going to say it no matter what. Okay.
Yeah.
So he...
No morals, all truth.
All truth, no morals.
There's a standard there, right?
You know, there is a standard there. There is a standard there. Yeah.
But yeah, I said that to him. And I remember very clearly the look that came across his face. And it wasn't one of joy.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah.
And then I remember the HR representative coming over to the thing. And I could see because we had like this camera and I had to buzz people in. And I remember thinking that was weird. And then I remember the next day being called in and terminated.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think back, suspect, totally suspect. But I didn't have a chance to button up those expense reports. So it actually wasn't until after I left that the charges were filed.
So they found this later. They went through the expense reports and found these. Okay.
Yes.
So what happened next?
I got a call from a police detective that said, "Do you want to talk?" And I said, "Talk about what?" And he said, "I think you know what I want to talk to you about." And I said, "No, I don't." Click. And I put my...
But you did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you knew they were coming.
Yeah.
It was coming for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I put my kids at the babysitter while I was trying to decide what to do because I didn't have another job yet. And I was trying to figure out how to get money for an attorney because I knew I needed that.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, another event happened. I was dating my son's father at the time. And with the expense report money, like I wasn't investing in college for my kids. Like I can't be that honorable, right? But I was definitely taking a lot of trips back and forth to Hawaii where he was stationed. And on the last trip that I had there, and I had gone like 3 times back to back, when I landed, I had a voicemail. The call that I heard when I got off the plane was him in a strip club with a butt dial and a voice recording of the large majority of his visit.
With a stripper.
Yes.
So you...
Yes.
So, okay, this is not a good time for you in your life.
It's not a good time.
Yeah.
And I heard him say, I just had to come in. The lights were calling me.
That's what he said to the stripper.
That's what he said to the stripper. And of all the things, you know, there's things that get fuzzy in your mind and details. This is so clear. And I remember thinking in that moment, I need to know why these lights were calling him.
This is a journalism problem I think you and I both share of just like instead of just being completely like turned off by the whole situation, you're kind of turned on. Like you're kind of like, I'd like to go see what these lights are about. I'm curious. You get curious about the strip club.
I get curious about almost everything. And I got curious.
But not about him and like, do you have a sex addiction? Have you been sleeping with other women? No, you want to go see what it is about the strip club.
That made him come in.
That is so intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously a me problem. I mean, I'm in my 20s.
Right.
And I don't think we stopped that until, what am I, 51? So 48.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanted to know why he couldn't stay away.
Okay. So did the cops come in, swoop in at this time at all? Or were they just like
cops
laying
never
back?
Swooped in.
They never did. They were just laying back and kind of just watching you maybe.
Yes. I don't think that I had fully comprehended what was about to happen in my life. All I knew is you couldn't help yourself from coming in. The lights were calling. What does that mean? What is going on? What do they have that I don't? How can I acquire? Like, I just needed to know.
So what happened next?
I walked into a strip club. I picked the one, I only knew where one was because I would pass it like grocery store or wherever I was going. But I walked in and I said, I would like to come in. And they said, well, you can't come in unless you have a man with you. And I said, yeah, you can't. As a single, they don't allow single females to come into strip clubs.
But single females like strippers?
But single females are wives coming in to catch their husbands, and that would be bad for business.
Got it. I am learning so much. Okay.
I learned that day too.
Okay, got it.
And so what did I say? Can I speak to the manager?
Ooh, I have a problem with your business, sir.
No,
got it.
I need to get in. Can you get me in?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even combative. Like I was curious, and I was awake, and it was late at night, and I had gotten a babysitter. I was going to see what was going on.
Got it.
And so the manager's name that night was Tommy. Tommy was actually one of the pretty straight shooting managers, like not taking advantage of anyone, like just actually pretty decent guy. And I told him what happened. I said, look, I heard my boyfriend at a strip club. It was literally on a recording. I don't want to cause any trouble, but I need to know what it is that he was seeing. Like, I have to know. This is so painful for me. Can I please just come in? I'll sit in the back. I won't cause any problems. I just need to know. And he said, yeah, come on.
Nice. Yeah. All right.
And so at that moment, I went in and looked around, and it wasn't what I expected.
What did you think it would be like?
Well, I was really cute at the time. So I thought it would be like beautiful women.
Oh, okay.
I thought it would be like perfect bodied women. Because I mean, at that time I was like a 36, 24, 37. I mean, I was in incredible shape. I was the standard of colonial beauty for my race. Like, surely these women must be goddesses if you couldn't. Yeah. I mean, I had just left.
Yeah.
And I realized that's not what it was. That's not what it was at all.
Yeah. So what did you see?
I saw regular looking women, and I saw regular looking women paying attention to men. And it's what I didn't see and hear. There was no arguing. There was no expectations. It was like movies, a TV, music, food, and undivided attention. That's what I saw.
Whew. What is I mean, it sounds like you recognized power.
Yes.
So what is the power of stripping, of strip clubs? I mean, because this is literally like ancient practice.
Yeah.
It has been around a really long time.
I think it's been around a long time because it delivers what people need.
And what is it people need?
People need to be listened to. People need undivided attention at times. People need to be told they're the best thing in the whole wide world.
What does that attention look like? Like, I think the things I think about when I think about strip clubs is just like lap dances, maybe like the choreographed, like we're all coming out as like firemen or
that's
cheerleaders.
That's not a thing. That's not like it is in the movies.
Because the movies make it so. But what's that secret sauce? What's that secret attention about?
I think what makes strip clubs so interesting is that you have someone that is going to talk to you and listen to you and hang on your every word like you're the smartest, most interesting human being they've ever seen. And everything you say, everything is brilliant, thoughtful, strong, and fascinating. Would you pay for it?
Take all my money.
Would you pay for it? and that's the thing. People...
That is brilliant for you to like pick that out.
You could see it.
Such a powerful tool.
I could see it. I could see very clearly that it wasn't about sex as much as it was about attention and focus and no judgment. And all of these guys that didn't have words to talk to women, including their wives or girlfriends or significant others, suddenly they were being told they didn't need those words because whatever they said were those words.
Brilliant.
There wasn't any need to be cute or clever or intelligent. And you could just sit there and say nothing.
Right.
And they would just hang on your silence. It's $20 for a 3-minute song. Can you think of another industry that has that same upcharge for so little effort? On repeat.
No.
3 minutes a song, 60 minutes in an hour. Like when you start doing that quick math, it really adds up. And even more, if you made them feel special enough, and everybody thinks like, oh, if you go into the champagne room, all of this stuff is happening. No, sometimes they just want to feel like like big men. And they just want to have that table full of women, or just a table for them with a big bottle of something that tastes terrible, but they want it anyway. They just want to truly feel like they are king. And I don't think it makes them bad. I think it makes them human.
Yeah, you don't judge this need.
Well, gosh, I mean, if we start judging people's needs,
right?
What makes your need for validation different than this person's need for validation in whatever way that shows up? But I actually went in and I started as a waitress, and I learned. That was going to be
my question. Did you just walk in and get a job?
I just walked in, put on a G-string, and hopped on the stage.
I'm like, did you know how to dance? I have so many questions. So you started as a waitress, as a server.
Did.
Okay.
And I was being asked as a waitress to give lap dances.
Oh, so people were already interested. Yeah.
Well, but you couldn't give dances as a waitress.
Okay.
But I would tip out the manager really well, so I could. So instead of charging $20 for a dance, I was like, I'm a waitress. Actually, our dances are $200. And so they paid $200.
Wow.
So I was like dancing. And so after I started getting asked to do a lot of them, of course, the other professionals got upset because I didn't have to do like the stage set or anything. And it was like this forbidden thing. But what I was actually learning is the fact that I could set my own prices.
Wow.
And my price floor was mine to set. And that I had more power, authority, privilege, and autonomy than I had ever had before in my life.
Wow. This wasn't rubber stamp days.
I was not stamping an expense report.
Yeah.
I was probably part of someone else's expense report.
You are like rocking, it sounds like right now. But this undercurrent of what's happening with the feds, with the police is still strong, right? What happened next?
Well, it was state, not federal. Federal would have been nice. I would have been able to do laundry. What happened next is I spent a lot of time in the pretrial motion. So I spent a year on pretrial, which meant I had to go downtown weekly and check in. So even if I had a regular job, I would never have been able to keep it going down during business hours every single week. And that was like a 45-minute drive.
Wow.
And my pretrial officer was like, oh, you've only had a speeding ticket. This will be nothing. Like, this is just going to drag on. So I originally paid for an attorney. I gave him a $10,000 retainer, which was gone in about a week.
But at this point, you had that money.
I did.
Because of your dancing.
I did.
So you'd figured out how to protect yourself.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to get all the money. Money gets people off of crimes all the time.
Right.
But after the $10,000 in like a couple weeks went through, I mean, it was like less than a month. I couldn't afford that anymore.
Okay.
And so I ended up.
I mean, just out of curiosity, what grounds did you have to plead not guilty?
None.
Okay.
I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to go to prison.
But I just mean, you're so great at like tapping into the truth. I mean, you know that you are guilty. So I just wonder, like, that your money is just going to be spent needlessly, or did you guys have a plan? Did you have a plan to lie?
I didn't have a plan. I was like 28 years old and stripping. I had no plan.
Okay.
No, but I thought that I truly thought that if you were wealthy, you didn't go to jail.
Oh, okay. I see.
I didn't know how that
just
didn't
threw
happen.
money at it. Yeah. Okay.
And so when I couldn't pay that attorney anymore,
you were like, there goes that plan.
He told the court that I had not been in contact with him and that they should revoke my bail because I did get charged. I did. Oh gosh.
You caught a charge.
I caught a case. And so he told the courts that I had been MIA. And so they revoked the bail. So I was speeding to take my son to football practice.
Got it.
Speeding.
67 miles per hour.
In a 35.
Got it.
Football practice.
Yeah.
And the cop pulled me over and then there was a bench warrant. So in that moment, I was like calling someone to come get my kids. I was trying to call the attorney that I wasn't paying. And
so a bench warrant, just some of this language. So like they caught you speeding and then said they went and scanned your plates and they were like, oh, there's like a warrant out for you.
Yeah, you're going to jail.
Wow.
And I was like, well, my kids are in the car. And they're like, but you're going to jail.
Wow.
And they're like, I'll give you one phone call.
Oh, yeah.
The cop said that. He's like, so you can call someone to come get your kids. Of course, I called my attorney. He's like, didn't I just say to call somebody? I was like, oh, I'll do that right now.
Wow.
So then I had called someone to watch them and I went to to jail. I think a lot of Americans believe that you're innocent until proven guilty. I can tell you, you're treated like you're guilty until proven innocent. You are detained. You cannot leave. You have not been convicted of anything, but your freedom is taken away. So I'm not big on the innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And that's when you go home.
Especially while Black in America.
Oh, well.
Yes. So was that the entirety of your stay? Was 2 days?
No.
Okay, so what happened
What happened next? I think I bonded out. We finally went to trial. I did a trial by judge. And this is going to move really quick because I don't remember much of it.
Okay.
I remember that I was sentenced to 2 10-year stacked sentences, which means I would have had to do enough time to get paroled for 10 years. And then I would start another 10 years.
Okay.
And get paroled for that and go home, which would have been a very long time.
Yeah.
With very young children.
Your kids would have been full adults.
They would have. And someone said something about reading the admonishments. I do not know what this means. I just very much remember it. And I remember my court-appointed attorney coming over very fast and saying they're going to offer you 3 years and it's going to be consecutive. So you'd only have to do 3 years and you'd probably be out in 8-9 months.
Okay.
And you have to take this.
Okay, so 3 years.
3
which
years.
is way better than, 20?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I took that deal.
So you got to go home to your babies.
I did.
Who are 8 months older.
Yes.
And how did they react to you returning? Did they?
Oh.
Yeah.
When I went in, I was in like the best shape of my life. I was getting ready to do Hawaiian Tropic. And my daughter used to sit on my lap and like straddle my lap and give me hugs. And she tried to do it and her legs wouldn't fit over because I was a different size.
Yeah.
And they just had missed me so much. And the reunion was not joyous for me because it was a painful reminder of how much they had missed me. So there's not much I regret in life, but I regret leaving them in my mom's care and leaving them for that amount of time. The rest of it, I'm good with.
Yeah. What was the movement to go from stripper and felon to doctor?
Well, still former stripper, still felon, now doctor. I would say I hid behind a man for 10 years who I did love for what I understood of love, because background checks fall off around 10 years. And you can't rent apartments, you can't rent houses, you can't get jobs. It's really challenging. And as our relationship was coming to a close, I was like, I think I'm going to go back to school. I think I could do that. And I remember begging him for the money to go back to school because I actually didn't understand that I could have gotten financial aid. I probably could have done it a different way, but then we were married, so it would have also been his income. But could I? Anyways, online school is what was really a big change because I had tried to go back to school once before, and just going to the campus and sitting in the classroom wasn't my jam.
Right.
But I'm a fast learner, and I'm a very fast reader, and I'm a very fast typer. So if I could go to online school, I could get this done. And I signed up and just flourished. I was like, oh, I know this.
Right.
You want me to write this paper? You want me to pass this test? I can move at my own pace? Oh, I can do this. And so I just did. Why not?
Yeah.
And then I just did that for my bachelor's. I did that for my master's. I did that for my MBA and for my doctorate.
Wow. Let's talk about men. How many times have you been married?
Let me count. I think it's 4.
The reason I'm asking that is because I just noticed when asking you about school, you'd said as our relationship was coming to a close, I told him I wanted to go back to school, and I was asking him for the money to do that.
Yes.
Have you used men
Yes.
to get to where you want to be in life?
Yes.
Period.
It's just, have I used men? Yes.
Yeah.
And any woman who has gotten married or stayed married or dated someone that didn't bring them joy more than 90% of the time has also used men. And any man that has stayed with a woman or cheated on a woman because of what she provided but didn't leave has also used women.
We use each other.
We use each other. make no mistake about it, my hiding behind a man is no different. And it's okay if you disagree. Your disagreement doesn't make it any less true for me. But is no different than a woman who went to college to find a husband, found a husband, had babies, and then stayed married.
Right. It's all a system.
It's all a system.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to gain. You have a ring on your finger right now.
I do.
Are you married?
I am.
And are you using your husband?
Yes.
For what?
Love.
Oh, stop.
Love.
So fourth time's a charm.
This is the first time I've entered into a marriage just because I loved.
You had that moment you were talking about how people just want to be paid attention to. Like, do you teach the business of stripping to women in tech now about power and how to be powerful? Is there an overlap there?
Well, this will sound like a shameless plug. I actually have extensive chapters in my next book that's coming out that literally draws the parallels of the entire sales process to stripping. If you want, where's the camera? This is important. If you want someone that is an incredible salesperson, hire a former stripper. She knows how to negotiate. She knows how to sell into her total addressable market. She knows how to prospect. She knows how to do discovery. She knows how to close the sale.
You heard.
Yeah, okay. Real talk.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you want to continue to be a part of the Homegoings family, stay in touch at homegoings.co and subscribe to the Homegoings podcast wherever you listen. Take good care.